Hey everyone, Keith Chasson here. What I'm going to do is explain what we do at Quantum Energy Wellness called quantum nutrition testing. It's a modality or a method of muscle testing. It's a variation of muscle testing, how we're able to muscle test our clients when they're on our quantum energy wellness bed, the med bed, and find out where they have weak, if any, weak reflex areas, what's causing the weakness, the stressor, and then how we can go about helping to remove that particular cause or stressor so that they just get better, right? And so back in 2023 or 2023, I was watching a weekend Zoom with Dr. Jonathan Glass. He was explaining how he uses or he's able to test his clients to see if their body wants a particular supplement. In this case, it was a product called Nutriswish, which was it's called Molecular Encapsulated Glutathione. And so he mentioned on the call that over 95% of his clients test that their body wants this particular supplement. And so I'm thinking, test, what does he do? Is he drawing blood? Or he's got them peeing in a cup? What? And so, but then he goes on to explain how he muscle tests them. And I really wasn't sure what muscle testing was. And so I started doing some research, and I learned what muscle testing was, that a large majority of chiropractors actually use that method of finding weak reflex areas in the body, you know, whether it's something going on in the brain or the eyes or the sinus or the heart, the kidneys, the livers, the different organs and glands in the body. They're able to scan those, looking for weakness in a muscle or change in muscle response, and by that way identifying what's going on in the body. I got intrigued. We started doing some research. I found out some friends of ours in Lake Mary, Florida, they own Palmer Natural Health. Dr. Jason Dean and his wife, Dr. Lisa Palmer, 20-year chiropractors, been doing muscle testing for over 15 years. And so she, through necessity, developed a way of muscle testing without physical touch, which I found very intriguing. And so the more we dove in, the more we learned. During the beginning of COVID, her dad fell, hit his head, and had a significant injury. They didn't know how significant at the time because, you know, she went over to check him out. She did all the tests. She's also trained in sports medicine, so she understood how to identify, you know, signs and symptoms of a concussion. And he checked out all fine. Well, 3 days later, her mom calls and said his face is drooping and he can't use his right side of his body. And so she goes over, and, you know, the biggest thing was, you know, back when that COVID started, you get into the hospital, they lock you down, you're like in prison, right? She didn't want that for her dad. But when this happened, she had no choice. So they bring him to the hospital, they check him in, they did all the tests, and come to find out he had a brain bleed that caused droopiness on one side, and the not able to use the right side of his body, his right hand and stuff. But they said whatever she had been doing was helping him because the brain bleed has healed itself. There's nothing else they can do. They didn't need to go in and relieve pressure on the brain. None of that. His body was already healing. Well, they kept him for observation overnight, assigned him to a room, and she goes home, going to bed, and says she was awakened in the middle of the night feeling like somebody was needing some help, like somebody was in trouble. And she wasn't really sure who that was, so she's thinking back all of her experience of muscle testing, how can I figure this out? And so she just starts using what she's now called the SNAP method of muscle testing, where she puts her pointer, her finger, her thumb, and her thumb together and just kind of presses them together when she's asking her questions for muscle testing. And so she starts scanning everybody she knows, and when she gets to her dad, she gets a break in the finger. Okay, what's going on with dad? Is it his brain part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, does an entire organ and gland scan, gets to his kidney, and it breaks. And so she goes, okay, what's wrong with his kidney? Goes through all the normal causes, like, is it food? Is it Lyme? Is it parasite? Nope, no parasite. Is it bacteria? Goes through the whole thing and no response. And then she goes, okay, is it a stone? And she gets a break in the fingers. Okay, so the next morning, she smuggles in some supplements to help with that issue in his breakfast. Mom brings it in, and he passes a stone. And later tests from the hospital confirmed that indeed he had a kidney stone he was trying to pass overnight. And the reason he was in so much turmoil, he couldn't get in touch with anyone. He was in so much pain, he couldn't get a hold of anyone. They had moved his room, and the little communication device that the patients usually call the nurse's station with, they didn't connect it. And so he was pressing it, nobody was coming. So he grabs his phone, his cell phone, he sees it on the thing. He calls 911 and calls the police. The police come in force and tell the nurse, say, hey, you got a patient that's in trouble. And they didn't know. So that's why the energy was so strong, and she picked that up. It was enough to wake him up in the middle of the night. You see, that's called quantum entanglement. Same thing you get when you have a feeling that you start thinking about somebody. Next thing you know, they call on the phone. Or you're thinking about them, they drive up to your to your house and they knock on your door. That's all quantum entanglement. And so through that, she begins telling the story to people on her husband's podcast. So people from all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, start messaging her to see if there's a way she can help them in whatever they're dealing with. Can she test them? And so she started quantum testing them using the finger snap method and getting great results from her patients. So for those of you who aren't sure what muscle testing is, let me just kind of explain it to you real quick. And I'm going to use my granddaughter. She's going to act as my patient. So Gracie, why don't you come on in? Okay. So Gracie's going to act as my patient. I'm going to explain what traditional muscle testing is. Applied kinesiology, they call it. So what a practitioner would do is they'd have their patient stick out their arm in this fashion right here, and then they would muscle test. Now, the practitioner would apply downward pressure, and the patient would match the pressure up, just like Gracie's doing. And then they would go to ask questions. Does she have any issues with brain? Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Each time they ask a question about a particular area, the practitioner is pressing down. And if she can't keep her arm strong on any one area of her body, then there's a weakness in that reflex area. And the question is, what's causing it? Is it food? Is it bacteria, Lyme, parasites? Go through all the things. And if she breaks weak again on a particular cause, that's what's causing the problem. Well, sometimes when Dr. Palmer's office would do this muscle testing, the patient couldn't make it in for one reason or another for their appointment. So they would get a surrogate, a stand-in. So now instead of Gracie being my patient, now she's one of my office personnel. She's someone who works in our office. And what Dr. Palmer would do is they'd get someone in the office to come in and stand as a surrogate. They would get the patient's chart and put the patient's chart on the table. The employee would put their hand on the patient's chart, and now they would muscle test the employee with the employee's hand on the patient's chart, and they would go through all the steps and get all the answers to help the patient's case get better. That's kind of what she drew off on. That's the process that evolved over time with muscle testing in Dr. Palmer's office. And so when she figured out that she can do it this way quantumly with people even across the pond and get good answers and good responses, she started developing that technique, that concept, and teaching it. And that's what we learned about when I was looking to learn about muscle testing once I heard about what Dr. Glass was doing for his clients. I wanted to learn how to do that. And so we did. Jamie and I, we enrolled. We went to two classes with Dr. Palmer. Got level 1 and level 2 certified. It was called quantum nutrition testing. I added a response in there because you get a response, right? Quantum nutrition response testing. It just sounds better to me. But nonetheless, it's muscle testing. And so when our clients come in for a quantum energy wellness bed session, we have a discussion prior to them going into the bed session. We actually introduced them to our hydrostat molecular encapsulated glutathione product called Nutriswish. We have their hand in an Avicen device, which stands for Advanced Vascular Circulation Enhancement. To me, this is all preparation for their bed session. It gets their blood flowing, oxygenated blood throughout all the extremities of their body. I like it to be that way. That way, when they get into the the energy field of the wellness bed, of the med bed, that interacts a lot better with a more alive and moving biofield of themselves. So that way the interaction could help increase the cellular voltage optimally. So it really makes for a great bed session. And before they actually go into bed, I explain to them about quantum nutrition response testing, muscle testing, and we get their permission while they're on the bed if they would like for us to do a free muscle test. We would test them while they're on the bed and then give them the results when they come off. And 100% of our clients agree to do it. And so we began doing this over a year ago once we bought the bed and once we were trained in quantum nutrition response testing. So now every client gets a bed session and we actually test them quantumly to see if they have any weak reflex areas, and if they do, what's causing them. And once we identify the cause, then we can better test them for what supplement is going to handle that cause. Now, you know, there's a lot of supplements out there. There's practitioner grade supplements through companies like Cellcore and Energetics, Standard Process. We actually have accounts with Cellcore and Energetics, and also the fact that we have the glutathione product, the Nutriswish. So we've been testing every single person, and the test will tell us whatever cause they have, what supplement's going to best handle that. And amazingly enough, just like Dr. Glass got the results he got, we get this very similar results. Every single one of our clients, with the exception of maybe one or two, and they were young ones, tested that Nutriswish can in fact help their case, along with some other supplements from either Cellcore or Energetics. So we began moving in that direction. Now recently, we learned about a new product that we are now offering at our clinic. I call it a clinic, it's just a wellness center. It's not a clinic. Jamie and I are not doctors. We don't try to treat, prevent, mitigate, or cure anybody's disease. We're not licensed to do that. But what we are able to do, because we're certified in quantum nutrition response testing, and we have the MedBed technology, we just offer for people to come do a session. And when we do test them, and the tests do show what type of supplement they need to handle their causes, we just simply make a recommendation. And we're getting some pretty good results for everybody who comes, which excites us because we just want to see people feel better. Because I know this, when people feel better, they do better. But this most recent supplement, oddly enough, once we got the energy of that product in the house, in the center, every client we've tested, they've only either tested for Nutriswish or this new supplement. Doesn't matter if they had a yeast problem, a mold problem, fungus problem, if it was radiation, if they were dealing with stress. Doesn't matter if there was chemical, heavy metal toxicity, parasites. Doesn't matter. The two products that they're testing for and they're getting great results from are the Nutriswish, the molecular encapsulated glutathione, is the newest product we have here at our center. So we're pretty excited. It even helps with drainage. That's the crazy thing. Before, when we found chemicals, metals, or parasites, a mold or yeast, something that we had to detox or cleanse out of the body needs some drainage. You got to encourage drainage, right? If you're not pooping good, it's not moving through the body, so you got to make sure you're pooping good. So you got to have some drainage to go with that. So the really cool thing is this new product, it does that too. So anybody out there that's having issues with other than those high-end or practitioner grade supplement companies, like Cellcore, Energetics, if you're struggling and you're looking for an alternative that's really effective, efficient, and efficacious, just let us know. We'll hook you up. Hope this makes sense. Hope this helps someone out there. If you have any questions, by all means, type a message or give me a call. See y'all later. Bye.